What do we do? I'll tell you what we do. I want you to go on the field, look for anything with an O. Let's kill them with kindness. Jimmy, I want you to make balloon animals. Tyler, make little tea cozies. Something fun. Are you okay? We will win this for Mother Russia. Ouch. Eat a Snickers. Why is that you? You get a little loopy when you're hungry. Better. Better. Let's go for it! Go get him, guys. Come on. You're not you when you're hungry. Snickers satisfies.
So, have you ever seen this commercial?
I have actually. I have seen it.
Okay. Okay, so try to answer these like more from a cultural perspective rather than like a business commercial perspective. So, what did you think the message of this advertisement was?
It was obviously in the beginning it's a white guy. He eats Snickers and then he becomes a black guy, and then they say you're not you when you're hungry or something like that. So it's it's very problematic, I can see.
Okay.
I don't really know how else to answer this, I guess.
Okay.
Like,
how did you feel the product was presented in a way?
It was kind of presented in a way that's like, obviously if you're like one thing, you're like a wrong thing, or you're not you, and then you eat it and then you become your true self. So
okay.
I don't know.
I see.
What you're trying to
so do you know where this commercial was from?
Yeah, Snickers commercial.
I mean, like country-wise, culture-wise.
America. I mean, it's kind of obvious with all the football players and
So do you think like this was like a good cultural portrayal of American culture?
I think this is what people imagine America to be, and I feel like it's these things that perpetuates this kind of thought. And I don't know, I feel like, because I obviously live in America as well, and I feel like it's not a very accurate portrayal, but it is how we portray ourselves and how other people see us as. So that's kind of
okay. Cool, good. Okay, so I probably didn't explain before, or I did, but we're gonna do the comparison between like Japanese advertisement culture and American advertisement culture. So do you think this would work in Japan? Like this commercial would work in Japan?
I'm not really sure about what Japanese commercials are like. I assume from what I know of Japan, which is not that much, that things would be very like cutesy and stuff. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of American commercials are portrayed at like belittling something, or you know, like making fun of something, and they use kind of like this really like crude humor. So
okay. So have you ever seen this commercial before?
No, I haven't.
Okay. What do you think the message of it was about?
I don't know, just kind of like how I answered in the previous one. Like, I don't know very much about Japan, but I would think that their commercials would be really like cutesy and cute, and that's kind of what this was. Like, she was just dancing around with Pocky sticks, and I don't know what that had anything to do with like real Pockies, because she wasn't even eating it until after the end. But
okay.
You know.
So how did you feel about the way it was presented, as far as like, you know, the imagery of it?
It's very kind of like innocent and fun. So I think it's like they're not necessarily like belittling anyone, or like, you know, they're just it's a young girl and she's obviously in like high school or something, and
okay.
I don't know, I guess it's kind of like a very youthful representation.
Okay. And you knew what the product was. You knew what Pokey sticks were. Okay. So do you think this commercial would work in the US?
Not necessarily, because I think people would be like, what the fuck? Like, they'd be like,
okay,
oh, this like young high schooler is dancing around, and then like, I don't know. I don't think it would work very well because she doesn't even talk in the commercial or anything.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
just, you hear music and she's dancing, and then people will be like, okay, that's very bizarre.
Okay, so what were some of the noticeable differences between the two commercials?
I think in these two commercials specifically, the talking aspect was like in this commercial, they had like, it had very minimal talking, and in the other one, they had quite a bit of talking and different, I don't know. I guess it was more of like a mini show, and this one was more of like a, I'm dancing around.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. Any last comment on it, or?
Nope.
It's like. If you want to say anything during the video, that's fine as well.
Okay.
Elevate your style. Introducing the all-new Corolla.
Have you ever seen this one?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I felt like most things in America, I feel like they don't really cater to minorities. Like, you mostly see TV shows with, like, white families and white people everywhere. But, I just got this, like, feeling that they were just trying to include, like, African Americans into this. And just, like, throw them in just to be like, oh, look at us. We're, like, we're so equal and stuff. I don't know. That's just the kind of feeling I got, like, of...
I see. So how did you feel about the way it was presented? Like, was it presented effectively for like the American culture, or?
I'm not sure if it was effective or not, but I did definitely notice the different like racial structure compared to like the other videos and stuff. And I don't know, it was nice that they included a lot more minorities in this, but then at the same time I feel like it was just kind of like saying something about like their culture, you know. It was, I don't know, I felt a very like distance from like, oh, this is like their culture and like it's us.
So like the 80s Motown era there
yeah.
you thought it was more of a okay, I see.
Yeah. And it said something about like, gosh, I forgot what they said.
All new Corolla. Introducing the all Elevate your style.
Yeah, it's like, and they were saying like elevate your style and stuff, and then they were saying like, oh, the all new Corolla compared to like previously when it was like black and white, and then it's like they're stuck in the old days, and then now they like come forward and everything's in color and everyone's like dancing, and they're like, oh, if you have a Corolla, you're gonna be really poppin' and stylish and bright and like young, because it's targeted at young people.
Of course.
So I don't know.
So how do you think this commercial would do in Japan?
From what I know, Japan is like a very, I guess, like homogenous culture. So, I mean, I don't know, it seems a lot different than the other Japanese commercial you showed me. Well, actually, it seemed a lot more similar than the Snickers commercial because it had like dancing and stuff like that. So maybe it would do well, but I'm not sure. But
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like this commercial was a lot closer than the Snickers commercial to like the Pocky commercial you showed me.
Oh, okay. I see.
Oh, hold on. I get it now. You're showing me different themes. You're showing me like Snickers and Pocky food items, and now you're showing me like American car and Japanese car.
Is it not loading? Oh.
Something like I noticed right off the bat is like, I think Japanese like commercials are very geared towards like the cutesy style, and like from the two commercials I've seen, including this one, it obviously has like a younger girl. Like I can't even call her a woman because it's like she's very girlish, and you know, and it's very like cutesy. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm.
So what do you think the message of this one was? Like,
I mean, obviously she's selling a car, but
Yeah.
I don't know. They don't really.
did you know right away it was a car commercial, or?
I did because I saw the car,
Mm.
and then I kind of picked up on the theme you were going with. Like, you're showing me similar amounts
okay.
American Japanese because I'm not
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
But
You're probably the first person that got onto it, so.
really, I don't know. It's very like, I don't know. It's everything that my prejudice American self thinks of like what Japanese culture would be, of like very cutesy and very like, I don't know,
Yeah.
just I think that's what we mostly get about Japanese culture, is that they're like cutesy and
Dancey and
dancey. I can't say
yeah.
anything besides cutesy. I feel like I keep saying the word cutesy, but
'Cause
that's
it's-
like that's what it is.
Because it's so kawaii.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about the way it was presented? Like,
I think in both of these Japanese commercials, I don't really see much of the product. I see like the person themselves is selling the product. Like, look at me, I'm really cool and I use this. It's not so much of like, this is the best Pocky in the world, this is so good. It's more of like they're selling whoever is like representing the Pocky or whatever, the car.
what about, do you know who the two women were in the Japanese commercials?
No, I don't know who they were. But I kind of got that of like, I feel like they're selling. I don't know if they're like famous or not, so I don't know if they're selling them or if they're selling the image. But I feel like in Japanese culture, it's more about like, look, this is what people like them eat and drive. It's not so much about like the car they're selling or the Pocky they're selling. It's yeah.
Yeah, the two in the commercial are actually, the first one, the Pocky commercial, she's a very famous Japanese actress.
Okay.
And this one in the Suzuki commercial, it's Kiari Pami, one of the biggest J-pop artists.
Okay. It's weird that I said that because I did not know they were famous at all, but that's the type of vibe I got from them, is that they're selling the famous person, and through the famous person, they're selling the product, not necessarily like selling the product.
What about in the first two American commercials, and the Snickers and the Toyota one? Was there any famous people in those?
Well, I mean, obviously the Snickers commercial, it said featuring Robin Williams, and he was, I mean, like that's what the title said, and I guess he's a very famous like actor, I guess, in America. And I don't know, I think that in those two commercials, it wasn't necessarily about like employing famous people to be in commercials. It was more of like trying to use humor or trying to use some other sort of methods, because I'm not really that in tune with like popular culture even in America, so I don't know if there was any famous people in the Toyota commercial, but I don't think so. I think they were just dancing and they were being cool and hip. It wasn't necessarily like a famous specific
Cool.
person,
So, I think you kind of hit on the noticeable differences. So, oh yeah, do you think this commercial would work in the U.S.?
Okay, I have to say no, because I think in the US people would be like, what the fuck? Like, what are they even selling? She's just dancing, and like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It would just be like, so are they selling the car? Because I think like really similarly to the Pocky commercial, they show the product very briefly in the beginning, and then they just show the person, and then like the car's in the background, or the Pocky's like in the background of like, and then towards the end, like she just takes one bite, and that's like she only takes one bite. They don't even like show it close up or anything. It's just like, and then the car commercial too, it's like I barely got it was a car commercial because I noticed the theme and I noticed the car was there in the beginning. But other than that, it just looks like some like music video, or just like.
Who thinks more is better than less? Okay, why?
More is better than less, because if stuff is not if there's more less stuff, then you might want to have some more, and your parents just don't let you because there's only a little bit.
Right.
We want more. Like, you really like it, you want more.
I follow you. It's not complicated. More is better. And AT&T has the nation's largest 4G network.
I'm not sure if I've seen this exact commercial, but I've seen like another AT&T commercial that was like this with children. So I think it might have been like either a cut version of the longer extended one,
Right, yeah.
or if it was that. But I don't know. I guess in this commercial there wasn't any like famous people per se. They're obviously selling AT&T, which is, you know, like a wireless network, and not a wireless, a phone network. I don't know, it's very, even the title, it's like, it's not complicated, like, obviously. And I think it's very in tune with American culture of like bigger is better, and the more you have is better, and it's very like consumeristic.
Oh, okay.
It's very like, it's not complicated because obviously more is better, and anytime anyone makes an American joke, it's always about size, you know. Like the other day I was talking to someone and we were talking about flamand, and I was saying I've never eaten a burger from there, and she's from England, and she was like, yeah, they're really good size, they're pretty big, and then she's like, well, but not like American big probably, but they're like a good size, they're big. So I think
this emphasized on that aspect of the American culture.
And like big, always more is better and big is better. And I think that's very in tune with American values, more or less. I mean, not everyone agrees with this, but,
but it's what's portrayed of American culture. Okay, and
the last one?
Wait. So how do you think this commercial would do in Japan?
I'm not sure, but like I said, I don't really know about Japanese culture, but I think, but from what I know, because I took Japanese in high school and stuff, and I think like even my my Japanese teacher was saying how in Japan they really like emphasize like in moderation and stuff, and I think, I'm not really quite sure what the saying was, but I just like vaguely remember her saying something like, there's like a Japanese saying where like you don't eat to like your fullest or something, like you always like leave a little bit and stuff like that, of like of this idea of like moderation. And I think it's a pretty common theme. I mean, obviously Japan is very like industrialized as well, so they're going to be very capitalistic, but I don't think people don't automatically assume like Japan bigger is better, you know. It's not the same as in America, where that is the norm of thinking, is bigger is better. So
okay, yeah, it's you hit on some really good points there.
I think I might know who the guy is. Like, isn't this the guy, he was adopted, but he's like Japanese, he like doesn't speak English or anything? And the African American fellow, or the white guy? The black guy in there.
Oh,
no?
I'm not too sure. That's a good question.
Because I think I've heard of some Japanese guy. He's Japanese, and I think he like barely speaks English or something. And one thing I really noticed in this commercial is they really play out in the norms. Like, dog is talking, there's a black man on the dinner table, and then there's like a white like middle class male housekeeper, and so it's this like people's image of what the norm is very shifted. Like, what's a black guy, and what's a dog doing at the table, and why is this white man the housekeeper? And it was very, you know,
out of Japanese norm. Like,
it's very out of Japanese norm. So.
But do you think that this advertisement being out of Japanese norm is a norm for Japanese advertisement?
From what I've seen so far, I feel like most Japanese advertisements, like, girl celebrities dancing to, like, Pocky and, I don't know.
Okay.
In cars. So,
did you recognize anyone in the commercial?
It says Tommy Lee Jones, Talking Dog Japanese commercial. I don't know who Tommy Lee Jones is, but...
Okay, I just thought I'd ask, since you were American and Men in Black, Agent K.
Black. Oh, okay. Does he actually speak Japanese, or was he just...
I'm not too sure. I know he's doing a lot of stuff in Japan now, but... Yeah. Okay, cool. So what did you think the message of this was? Like...
Something about broadband or something, like faster broadband. I don't know. It could be anything, but... And how did... like wireless internet or phone or something. I don't know.
Okay, yeah. It's about like having a... more bars being connected.
Yeah.
Like you know, being connected.
Yeah, because they were like talking about eyebrows, and I don't think I quite got the eyebrow reference until you were saying it was about being connected, because I was like, because they were talking very fast and trying to like process everything, because I'm a very fast reader, so I obviously read everything, but then like the whole idea of like the eyebrows being connected and stuff, I did not get that until you were like, oh, about being connected, and you know, I was like, why is he talking about your eyebrows are almost connected, like, I don't know. So that's like a cultural aspect I guess I didn't get at first, but it makes sense.
So so what were some of the noticeable differences? You know, you're saying that this one went very fast.
I feel like that was the point of this commercial, was to just be like, bam, 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 all of these abnormal, you know, stuff happening.
I see. Cool.
Yeah.
Any final comment on it? Or did you enjoy any of the commercials?
Not particularly.
Okay. So, as a close-up question, like, after seeing all 3 sets of these commercials, what can you tell about like the cultures that the advertisements come from? Like, did you learn anything about Japanese, or like did any like previous perspective of Japanese or American culture, was it portrayed well in here? Or
I don't know. I guess one aspect of American culture that was really emphasized, especially in the AT&T commercial, was like bigger is better, and the Toyota Corolla, I don't know what they were trying to do. It was like, oh, this is the new hip thing. And then, you know, it's like moving from this old to the new, which I don't know if it's a particularly American cultural emphasis or not. And then Snickers commercial I thought was kind of inappropriate, because it's like, you're not yourself when you're hungry. So eat a Snickers and become who you really are. But the portrayal of like who he was and who he became is...
It was probably just bad choicing, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was pretty bad.
Okay.
But, I don't know. And then, and the Pocky and the Suzuki Mr. Wagon is very dancing and cutesy. And Tommy Lee Jones' Talking Dog Japanese commercial is very, I think, aimed at the shock factor of like, wow, you know, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought the commercial was kind of funny, but I didn't really get it. I just thought it was very funny because I didn't really get it. So, you know, I was reading it and about the eyebrows being connected and stuff, so.
So anything did you learn about, like, the values or behaviors and or norms of these cultures?
I would say, but the first 2, I think it definitely, like, solidified my, like, oh, in Japanese, like, everything is cutesy. And then the 3rd one, it was just like...
Bam, bam, bam.
Bam, weird. And then,
yeah. So. All right. Well, any final words now, or?